So in 2023, this upcoming season, the San Diego Padres have a chance to overtake the LA Dodgers. But quite frankly, how do they get there? So in 2019, the San Diego Padres were the 5th place team in the NL West. They had a record of 70-92. And I mean, they had a lineup of Fernando Tatis Jr., Eric Hosmer, Manny Machado, Hunter Renfroe, Framil Reyes, Ian Kinsler, Manuel Margot, and Austin Hedges. I mean, it's not really the best of best lineups, and I mean, this team has really grown. And how did they go from this to a team that could overtake the Dodgers? So after the 2019 season, in November 2019, the Padres and Brewers made a trade, and the San Diego Padres got Trent Grisham and Zach Davies. In return, the Brewers got second baseman Luis Urias and starting pitcher Eric Lauer. Trent Grisham and Zach Davies was well worth it for the price. So we skip over to December 2019. This month was kind of crazy for the Padres. 2 trades that would age really well for them, as it seemed. So the first trade that happened in December 2019, Padres and Athletics made a trade. Padres gave up catcher Austin Allen for outfielder Jurickson Profar and utility man. And this was a really good trade for the Padres. And I have no idea what the Athletics were doing, but this was a really great trade for the Padres in the long run. And I mean, they found their super utility man. And later that month, the Rays and Padres made a trade, first of many. Rays received left fielder Hunter Renfroe and shortstop prospect Xavier Edwards. The Padres received left fielder Tommy Pham and prospect shortstop Jake Cronenworth. And this right here, what seemed to be a terrible trade at this point in time, this trade was unbelievable to think back on it. And I mean, they gave up a top prospect in Xavier Edwards. They also got Jake Cronenworth in return, and Jake Cronenworth plays a big role in this Padres lineup now. This was an insane trade for the Padres, to say the least. Yeah, you thought they were done? No, they weren't. In February 2020, the Rays and Padres yet made another trade. Rays received center fielder Manuel Margot and catcher Logan Driscoll. I don't know if I'm saying that right, and I'm sorry. And the Padres received relief pitcher Emilio Pagan. Right before the season started, the Royals and Padres made a trade. The Padres gave the Royals center fielder Franchi Cordero and right-handed pitcher Ronald Bolanos, I'm sorry. I apologize if I'm saying it wrong. I'm sorry. And the Padres received relief pitcher Tim Hill from the Royals. This trade aged pretty well for the Padres. For the Royals, not so much. So the 2020 MLB season starts. The Padres were 11-12 at the date of August 16th, 2020. They got swept by the Diamondbacks. It was not looking good. And then this happened.
This is in the air to right field. Back it goes. Nando has done it again. Fernando Tatis Jr., a grand slam.
This was the series that really changed the Padres in general. Not just the season, just changed like the whole outlook of the Padres. This is when the Padres started to look promising. Padres were leading 10-3 in the top of the 8th with bases loaded for Tatis. Tatis then went on to hit a grand slam. The media was going crazy. Many people had different opinions about it, but then something else occurred. Throughout the next 3 games, the Padres went on to hit 4 grand slams in 4 straight games, and this was the beginning of San Diego. These 4 games were insane. 2 were at Texas, 2 in Petco. Just an insane series of events, honestly. Like Tatis had a grand slam in Texas, Game 1. Will Myers had a grand slam in Texas. Game 3, Manny Machado hits a walk-off grand slam. And then in the 4th game, the final game versus the Rangers, Eric Hosmer hits a grand slam to right field. I mean, after this, the Padres would stay hot, end up being buyers at the deadline. And so they made 2 trades on August 31st. The first trade was with the Mariners. Padres gave up Andres Munoz, Luis Torrens, Taylor Trammell, and Ty France. Not the best of hauls, I will say. At this point in time, it looked like a good trade on the Padres side, but in reality, this did not age well at all. But on the upside, the Padres got Austin Nola, Austin Adams, and Dan Altavia, just not really anything special. Austin Nola's their catcher now, and the second trade, most people remember this trade. Padres received Mike Clevenger and Greg Allen from the Indians, not the Guardians. The Indians received catcher Austin Hedges, Cal Quantrill, Josh Naylor, Owen Miller, Joey Cantillo, and Gabriel Arias. This trade for the Padres didn't really go well. I mean, Mike Clevenger basically would be injured most of his time as a Padre. Greg Allen got shipped off to the Yankees in some trade. So after all those crazy events, that whole trade deadline, San Diego, all that, the Padres clinched the playoff spot, the 4th seed in the National League, facing the Cardinals in the Wild Card Series. First time they made playoffs in 14 years. This was a big moment in San Diego. So the Padres lost the first game to the Cardinals, and they already faced elimination within the next night. And so the Padres were down 6-2 in the bottom of the 6th, and they had Fernando Tatis Jr. up to bat. He then hit a 3-run homer to put the Padres back into the game, 6-5. Then, after that, Machado hits a solo shot to tie the game. Those 2 homers were the biggest homers in that whole season. There was San Diego, right? There was all that. There were the cool walk-off homers, but those were the 2 biggest swings at this point in time for the Padres in the 2020 season. So after Tatis and Machado go back-to-back to tie the game, the Padres offense explodes and they end up winning the game 11-9. And on top of that, they go into Game 3 and they win Game 3 with ease, 4-0. Easy win versus the Cardinals. Cardinals, just offense wasn't there for the Cardinals. Pitching, I mean, the pitching didn't do bad. It's just they didn't have offense. They weren't going anywhere that game. So the Padres had a lot of confidence going into the Dodgers series in the NLDS. Dodgers then dominated the Padres. None to say. Dodgers just played amazing. Padres had some injuries on the pitching side, but there's no excuse. Dodgers swept the Padres out of playoffs. Pretty depressing, after all those events versus the Cardinals. It was pretty sad to see this team just be swept by the Dodgers, the team who just dominated in 2020. Things had to be done. So the Padres made 2 massive trades. Not 1, but 2. You want to know what's even better? They're both in the same 24 hours. So the Rays and Padres yet make another offseason trade. This is like the Rays and Padres I don't get it. They're always making trades with each other, as it seems. So the San Diego Padres received Blake Snell from the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays received Blake Hunt, Cole Wilcox, Luis Patino, a top pitching prospect, and Francisco Mejia, catcher. Then later that day, the Cubs and Padres would make a quite surprising trade, in my opinion. Padres got the package duo, Yu Darvish, Victor Caratini, and the Cubs received Zach Davies, Reginald Preciado, I think. They also received Yesian Santana, Ismael Mena, and then they also received Owen Cassie. And overall, this was a pretty good trade on both sides. Then the Padres also got free agent Ha-Seong Kim from the Korean Baseball League. Then the Mets, Padres, and Pirates made a 3-way trade. Mets received Joey Lucchesi from the Padres. Padres received Joe Musgrove from the Pirates. Pirates received Andy Rodriguez, David Bednar, Hudson Head, Drake Fellows, and Omar Cruz from both Mets and Padres. 2021, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. Padres finished 3rd with a record of 79-83. Very disappointing season after, injuries occurred in 2021. It is what it is, man. Very depressing season. But the one good thing was that Fernando Tatis Jr. finished top 3 in MVP voting in 2021. And off to the offseason we go again. So in November 2021, the Marlins traded Jorge Alfaro to the Padres, and the Padres also signed relief pitcher Robert Suarez. Robert Suarez came in clutch for the Padres throughout the entire season. Very underrated signing. March 10th, lockout lifts, but Tatis fractures his wrist, motorcycle accidents. He's out, and he's done for 3 months automatically. not the best start. Padres play throughout spring training, and they make an opening day trade. Padres made a trade with the Twins. The Padres received Brent Rooker and Taylor Rogers. Taylor Rogers actually pitched really well for the Padres before he had that little blip or something. I don't even know how you want to explain it. And the Twins received Emilio Pagan and Chris Paddock. So heading into the All-Star break, the Padres were 52-42, and they were seeking an outfield bat and some more pitching. So as the All-Star break is occurring, Juan Soto is on the trading block, and the Dodgers, Cardinals, and Padres were the front runners for him. As the trade talks heat up, the Padres trade for Josh Hader unexpectedly and out of nowhere, to be honest with you. The Brewers got Taylor Rogers, Dinelson Lamet, Esteury Ruiz, and Robert Gasser, while the Padres got one of the best closers in the game, if not the best. And that's a different video for a different day. Taylor Rogers posted a 5.48 ERA, and the Brewers immediately DFA'd Dinelson Lamet. I mean, they basically got prospects for Josh Hader, and they're pretty mid prospects. Then, August 2nd, 2022, the San Diego Padres trade for Juan Soto and Josh Bell. They gave up Mackenzie Gore, CJ Abrams, Robert Hassel III, James Wood, Jarlin Susana, and a major leaguer. It was supposed to be Eric Hosmer. He didn't want to accept it, so Luke Voigt was placed in the trade. But then Eric Hosmer still ended up getting traded just to the Red Sox this time, and along with Matt Ferguson and Corey Royser. Basically, the Padres were paying for Eric Hosmer to be in a Red Sox uniform. Really confusing. Padres also got Brandon Drury from the Reds at the trade deadline. Fernando Tatis Jr. gets suspended for 80 games for PEDs. I have no words. I still can't believe it. I mean, through all that, Padres finish 89-73, and they get the 5th seed in the playoffs and face the Mets. Best of 3 wildcard series at Citi Field. They've done this before. Padres ended up going into Citi Field. They beat the Mets in 3 games. They won Game 1 7-1. They lost Game 2 to the Mets, and they won 6-0 in Game 3. They went on to LA to face the LA Dodgers. Game 1, they lost 5-3. Clevenger imploded. Game 2, they won 5-3, a tough game in LA with the Goose and all of that. Game 3, they barely squeaked by the Dodgers. And in Game 4, the biggest game of the season for them, they came back from a 3-0 deficit in the bottom of the 7th inning, and they won the game. They beat the Dodgers in 4 games, but that's where the postseason it would end for them. I mean, they got 5 games against the Phillies. The Phillies played out of their minds. Questionable decisions from the Padres, but overall, the Padres made it to the NLCS. And work to be done this offseason. They've got Xander Bogaerts, Robert Suarez re-signed, Nick Martinez, Seth Lugo, and Matt Carpenter. They're currently in talks for Pablo Lopez. Trent Grisham is in the mix of that. And overall, this team could overtake the Dodgers in 2023. But let me know in the comments what your guys' opinions are on that. And I'll see y'all later. Peace.